They refuse to denounce Putin. It's just an all-out campaign blaming all Russians. Eric Swalwell, the militaristic Democratic congressman, has doubled down on his call to expel all Russian students from universities. It just shows kind of the repressed racism of liberals. Of course, Russians are not considered people of color in the United States. Maybe we could say the repressed xenophobia. But they attacked Donald Trump for putting children, Mexican and Honduran children in cages, rightly so. They are pro-immigrant, rightly so. They are so tolerant. They have these signs on their lawns about how love is love, we believe in science, and Black Lives Matter. But they have to express some kind of fascistic denigration of an outgroup in order for them to maintain their political and national identity. And the Russians play a convenient role there. And so all Russians are being targeted, regardless of whether they have any affiliation with the government or not. This also includes, I don't know if you're planning to mention this, correspondents for RT or RT America, they're having their personal accounts labeled as a form of...
So I was going to just make a video about the Flipgrid stuff, which the links are down below. I made some replies, but I was watching Jimmy Dore's live stream, so I thought maybe I'd share that, see how that goes.
To intimidate them and make them feel so castigated that they quit their jobs, which were probably the only jobs they could get in media, because corporate US media is closed off to anyone who doesn't want regime change in Russia and China and every other country that's an official enemy. They're trying to cause a staffing crisis at RT. And what do we see here? You're seeing Russia removed from the SWIFT system. So it's basically removed from the financial transfer system of the world economy, because the world economy is based around the dollar. You're seeing Russian citizens unable to use their Apple Pay. You're seeing, and so they can't get on the subway. You're seeing Visa and all these other, and tech companies ban, castigate Russia, ban Russian shows from Netflix.
Right, wouldn't it be nice if the U.S. could be banned this way when it invaded the country?
This is the essence of U.S. empire. U.S. empire is not just military bases abroad. It is control over the international financial system and the major corporations. And the Pentagon and the U.S. government can come in and tell them what to do, and has command. And that means that even people in Russia are subjected to the commands of Washington. And anyone should take that as a lesson, actually. You talked before, Jimmy, about central bank digital currency and the danger of that. If you are relying entirely on a digital payment system, then you're under the control of the empire. And those Russians are going to have to actually go get their paper money out again to pay for their subway fare. Actually, China is doing its own digital payment systems, creating its own infrastructure independent of the US, so it won't be easily punished that way. But this is what the fourth industrial revolution means if AI and digital currency is...
But that's part of why it's so weird for Russia to do this, because they know that in reality they're closely tied to all the Western technology and banks and all of that. And you think you could just do this and there's no ramifications? It doesn't seem likely.
Conductor, not for something he said, but for something he didn't say.
Yeah, well, you have to. This is loyalty oaths time. This is about loyalty oaths.
That's what this was.
Okay, enough of this. Am I right? So I added some answers to experts in society and alternatives to war topic. Since nobody else had answered yet, I did not add a new topic. There's also this meta creating, this is me talking about how the system works. So, experts in society. Let's play that. It's got the bullet points. I answered the bullet points, so I've already played this, I think, in an earlier video, so I'm going to play this. So what I have found is it's not so easy to just, you can't play the other video very easily. It kind of worked, but I didn't get it. So I'm going to answer. I did watch the topic video that I had made, and there's the bullet points. I'm basically going to go through the bullet points, which is what I went through to make the topic video. So you know what? I realize I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to go get some food that my wife left me. She's traveling, so she made me some food because she's a sweetheart. So I'm going to go get that. Just come back in 30 seconds or so. See, I told you that would only take a second. Okay, so let's start this again. What is the role of experts? Now, I believe in experts and expertise. We need experts. Now, a particular expert is not just someone with experience, but it's someone that understands and knows the results of other people in their industry's experience. Right, so they're supposed to take a statistical likelihood of like which are the best practices, what kind of beam is strong enough, how big the pipe should be, whatever it is. They're supposed to know like a statistical concept from their industry. Now, how do we utilize experts is because for an individual, we can't be sure that they might have an axe to grind. They might be pushing some sort of an agenda that they have about their domain. What we want is a statistical representative, like a particular expert should take a statistical representative of the data to make their opinion. And then we as a society should take a statistical representation of experts in order to judge whatever the state of affairs is in that expertise and what kind of advice, since it's going to be all over the map. If you look at every single expert, we want to figure out a way to smooth that and take what the mainstream opinion is. It might not be the best opinion. You would think out on the wings of, I really like what this guy is saying. The ideas in the future, some of those ideas that are out there in the minority will take over. But at any given moment, in order to utilize the expert opinion, we need to get kind of average out and figure out what is the main expert opinion. And that's the opinion that we put on the table. Now, what does trusting in experts mean? Well, that we put their ideas on the table. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? It needs to be a neutral thing. These are people studying the subject, and they have an idea because we believe in the concept of cognition. That's at least a very eligible candidate for an educated opinion. Now, in society, we as a whole are going to be deciding there's going to be a majority of people that aren't the experts, and we have to decide whether to take them at their word. So, how can we judge who is qualified as an expert? Well, I think we can do that on resumes as long as we realize that an individual expert is not enough. You want panels and groups of experts. So, how can we judge groups of experts given that there could be systematic bias? Like, for example, when they create the DSM for psychological problems, the whole psychological industry, the group, the community thought, oh, homosexuality should go in that. And then it changed its mind. Well, it was wrong at one time, right at another. How do we as a society, when they're wrong, predict and judge when they're wrong? Well, the basic thing is you don't go too far out of a field. Certain ideas, certain new ideas, can detect when an idea is controversial for some social reason and realize that there might be a systematic bias. So it is possible to survey for systematic bias, and that's what you would have to do in order to judge experts well. And I think we do this actually pretty good around the world. Governmental structures for relying on expertise, scientific and other expertise, has gotten fairly sophisticated about how you use the general community of that industry or domain to help you decide what counts as, like, the safe bets for a given contemporary environment. So what I have found is it's not so easy to just so anyways, this guy's really smart. Really like what he has to say. So let that speak for itself. So, okay, let's say we go back to discussion here. Alternatives to war. Somebody responded to this, so I made a topic and some guy responded, me. Well, thank you for asking, Piero. Alternatives to the war. Okay, so first, what would I spend the money on that we'd save from not spending money on the military, irrespective of whether I think that was realistic? I'm not saying it's realistic, but let's say we had all that money and we could do it. Well, I'd spend it on safety nets. I would spend it on getting a stable energy system, nuclear, obviously. And I would spend it on sort of a social programs of this sort where you'd have car shops that regular people could use. You'd have commercial kitchens that people could use and things like that. So we'd bump up our infrastructure to include tools that are best shared by people that don't do it 60 hours a week. The next question is, how low key can war become? So saying that we could at least reduce the amount of war, I think it can become so low key that the kind of conflict left would not be considered war. So war can be eliminated, I believe. So is war inevitable? No, obviously it's not inevitable. War is totally optional. Now, conflict, yeah, we're going to have certain kinds of conflict. I can even say that some of that conflict will be violent. It might include enough large numbers of people that there's tanks and stuff and it looks like war. But a police action and war is supposed to be essentially different. Like in war, they go ahead and blow up the whole neighborhood to catch, Saddam's sons or whatever. In police actions, you're not allowed to blow up the whole neighborhood just to catch the criminals. You got to catch just the criminals. If any civilians are endangered, it's supposed to be by the criminals, not by the state. So that's fundamentally different. So there's all kinds of conflict that aren't war. And so I don't think war is inevitable because there's other kinds of conflict. Conflict is inevitable for the foreseeable future and possibly in principle, but not war, right? So I'm right. If you disagree, you're wrong, but no offense intended. That was so well stated. Great comment. I forget who this user was. I noticed that he looks a lot like me, except for his hair goes in the other direction. Not sure why that is, except for that obviously it's a totally different person than myself, obviously, or else they would look exactly the same, not just similar. And symmetrical transformation. No, obviously. So go. I think I left all the links, and you can go take part in this. But even if you don't, I like this way of doing it. I'll just reply to myself, make new topics, reply. But I don't mean to be negative. Bark Lord already did it. I imagine he'll take part again, but maybe he doesn't like these topics. Maybe you don't like these topics. Give me some comments. What kind of topics do you want me to create? There's two things that tell me with a topic. First, tell me the topic. I'm inclined to raise the topic, so give me a sentence of how you think I could raise the topic. I'll save my answer for the comment. Obviously, there'll be some influence from of me, having to post it, but I'll try to save my answer for my own reply. And if you specify, that, then we can create that topic. So the links are down below. I will be creating new topics. I assume people will reply to them. You can video reply right in the browser. You don't have to upload or anything. And the limit on the current videos is 10 minutes. I'm thinking about certain topics that maybe it'd be good to have a 30-second or 1 minute or 2 minute reply. It's a very simple tool, but how we use it rises to some levels of potential complexity. So that's what I'm thinking about with it. All right. That's that. That's this.